Good morning, all of you. In last lecture, we have completed closer set of attributes. We have taken this example. So if we are having this kind of relational schema, where we are having this 5 columns, A, B, C, D, E, and these all are the functional dependencies, then if we want to find the closure of this attribute A, that means if I'm having the value of A, then how many columns value can I get from the given functional dependency? And we have gone through this example. Then we have studied the concept of extraneous attribute. That means if we are having this kind of functional dependency, AB derives C, and the second one is A derives C. The second one's want to say that, like, if I'm having the value of A, then I can able to get the value of C. And here it is say if I'm having both the values A and B, only then the value of C will be derived. So B is here is extra attribute, and we are calling this as an extraneous attribute. And the use of B is unwanted here, so we can remove it. And the meaning of this functional dependency should not be changed. Then we have seen what is canonical cover. The functional dependency which we are using till now, we are calling it as F. That means for any of the relation R, we are having a functional dependency set. F equals to either A determines B, B determines C, likewise. But canonical cover means FC. Okay, it is the minimal set of functional dependency which is equivalent to the problem definition functional dependency F. In this canonical cover, we are not having a redundant dependency as well as redundant part of the dependencies. It is denoted by this symbol. Previously, we are calling the functional dependency with this symbol, capital F, and in canonical cover, the symbol will be this, FC. Here C stands for canonical cover. The steps to identify the canonical cover, the first one, if we are having these two rules, A1 determines B1 and A1 determines B2, then in place of this two rule, we can write that A1 determines B1, B2. Both of this have the same meaning. So instead of writing these two rules, two functional dependency, we can just replace it with this. Okay. If we are having any of the extraneous attribute, now we know what is extra attribute or extraneous attribute. So if it is there in any of the part, left or right, so we need to find out that extraneous attribute and delete it from this, such that the function, that means the functional dependency, does not change. And we need to reduce our function F, which is a functional dependency, to FC, and the meaning of this FC should be equivalent to this F. So ideally, the meaning should remain equal, but we are going to reduce the number of dependencies with the help of these all rules. Then we have taken this example. For example, here we are having this two rule. So it says that if I'm having the value of X, I can get the value of YZ or just a Y. So we are going with this rule, X derives YZ, and we'll remove it from the functional dependency. So now from previously we are having 4 functional dependency. Here if you can see we are having 3 functional dependency. Okay. After that, if we are looking at this, XY derives Z. XY derives Z, and X, here X is an extraneous attribute, extra attribute. So if we want, we can remove it, because here it is written only with the value of Y, we can derive Z. Here it says if I'm having both the values X and Y, then and then I can derive the value of Z. So here X is an extra attribute, so remove it. So if you are going to remove the value of X, then these two dependencies are duplication of each other. So we can remove any one of them, and so that here we are having first 2 functional dependency in the resultant set. Here if you can see, if I'm having the value of X, I can get the value of Y as well as Z. And second rule says that if I'm having the value of Y, I can get the value of Z. So I can write that here Z is an extra attribute from X, I need to get the value of Z, and it should also be possible with the transitivity rule. If I'm having the value of X, I can get the value of Y. If I'm having the value of Y, I can get the value of Z. So ultimately, from X, I can also have the value of Z. So here Z is extra and we are going to remove it. And that's why our final canonical cover will be this two functional dependency. Okay. We need to find the candidate key, and for that we have done one example completely, and the second example we have started. So how to find the candidate key? Whatever functional dependency is given, you need to draw like this. From the value of A and B, I can get the value of C. So from A and B combinedly, if the two values combines together, only then the value of C will be there in the result. Now take first two rules here. So like this. So here we can say all four rules will be covered. In this, all four rules will be covered. If I'm having the value of A and B together, then I can get the value of C. If I'm having just the value of A, then as per this rule, A derives DE, I can get the value of B as well as E attribute. If I'm having the value of B, then I can get the value of F. And from F, I can get the value of G and H. Identify the attributes which do not have any incoming edges or arrows. So if you observe here in A and B, these two attributes, we are not having any incoming edge. So identify those attributes. Now try to identify the closure set of this attribute. That means AB plus means closure set. Closure set comes with two terms, closure set of functional dependency and closure set of attributes. Here it is written AB plus. These A and B are the different attributes here. So we can say this is a closure set of attributes. Whenever we are finding the closure set of attributes, then those attributes must be a part of the resultant set. So AB, if I'm having the value of AB, I can have the value of C, D, E, F, and if I'm having the value of F, I can get the value of G and H. That simply means that from these two attributes A and B, I can get the entire relations, each and every attribute's value. That means the entire relation R. So we can say that due to this two attributes A and B, we are able to find the complete relation R, and that's why we can announce that AB is a candidate key. We have completed till this in the last session, and now we are starting with the next example. Consider a relation R, ABCDE with the following functional dependencies. These two are the functional dependencies given to us. So if I'm having the value of BC, I can get the value of A, B, and E. Now we are doing here for both the rules. So if I'm having the value of B, I can get the value of B. This is the final diagram which covers all the functional dependency given into the question. So now we have to identify which attribute or which set of attributes which do not have any incoming arrow. So A is having incoming arrow, B is having incoming arrow, D and E. So only attributes C here which do not have any incoming edge. So we have pointed out that C attribute. From this, C is the attribute with no incoming edges. So now check that the closure set of C plus. So if I am having just C plus, then C must be a part of the result. But check that if I am having just the value C, then how many columns value I can able to get. But here if you see, only C cannot derive any of the attributes value. Until this you have executed in your last lecture, and many of you have given the correct answer till this. So closure set of attribute C will be the only answer C. Okay. Now we know that if C attribute alone cannot make the entire relation, so this cannot be a candidate key. So C alone cannot find all the attributes of this relation, but C can be part of the candidate key. If we merge this attribute C with any of the attribute, then it can be a part of the candidate key, because here age is not there, arrow is not there, so C can be a part of the candidate key. So we can try that. We can combine or we can merge this attribute C with rest of all the attributes. That means AC, BC, CD or CE. So to find the candidate key now, pair C with each remaining attribute of the relation and identify the closure for every possibility. Okay, so we have said that if we are having C, so we can merge C with A. So need to find the closure set of attribute for AC, then merge C with B, so it will be BC, merge C with D, so it can be CD, or merge C with E, so it can be CE. So what we have done, C alone cannot be a C alone cannot become a candidate key. It is not eligible because only C cannot derive all these values. So C can be a part of the candidate key. That's why we are merging C with rest of each and every attribute. And now we'll find the closure for everyone. Okay, so you are having here the functional dependency. So first, try for this. What is the closure set of AC? So identify AC plus and reply here in the chat box. Identify AC plus and reply here in the chat box. Everyone knows that how to identify the closure set of attributes. AC plus, if you are finding for them, then A and C, these two attribute must be a part of your result. Chinmay, Dhvani, Forum, Hiren, Himangi. Okay, Parth replied A, comma C. Anyone else? Janvi, Karthik, Kushal, Milan, Rutvi, Yash, Zenith. Any other answer? Okay, so correct. Parth has replied correctly. If I want to find the value of A and C, I need to find all these value AC plus, BC plus, CD plus, and CE plus. So first I am trying for AC. So A and C must be a part of this. So in answer A, comma C, I am just writing, and then I will go for check for any other possibility. So here it is B and C both attributes. Here it is D. So only this can be the answer for AC plus. Okay. What about BC plus? Reply here in the chat box. What is the answer for closure set of BC plus? Okay, Deep and Krish replied ADE BC. Deep replied Krish BC ADE. Okay, we're going to verify it. So B and C, if you are finding for this, then B and C must be a part of this. So I'm writing B comma C. If I'm having the value of B and C both, then I can have the value of A, D and E. So if you see ideally, it can cover all the column which is available into the relational schema. So it will be A, B, C, D, E. Perfect. Very good. Okay. Now check it for CD plus. CD plus. What can be the solution? If you are having the value of C attribute and D attribute, then what can be the solution for that? Krish replied CDB. Deep replied CD. Anything else? Anyone? Kunal, Nirali, Mishi, Shreya. Okay, Akanksha replied CDB. Sunil replied BCD. Okay, we'll try to solve that. So if I'm having the value of CD plus, I want to find that, then C and D must be a part of this. If I'm having the value of D, if I'm having the value of D, then I can get B from this functional dependency. Now in resultant set, I have these three values. So if I'm having value B and C together, I can get the value of A, D and E too. So D is already there, so I'm not repeating it again. So I'm just writing A, comma E. So with the help of these two attributes C and D, I can get the entire relation's value. Okay, Paz replied correctly. Now we are trying for the last one, which is CE plus. Reply here in the chat box. CE plus. C and E must be a part of this. So first write down that and then reply with your answer. Okay, so many of you has replied. Parth, CE, Karthik, CE, Krish, Nancy, Dhwani, Sunil. All of you replied correctly because if I am having the value of C and E just to these values, then I cannot able to achieve all other columns values. Okay. So the similar way you can see here, AC plus is AC. So this one is correct. BC plus is ABCD entire relation. So here it is written R. CD plus is again entire relation and CE plus that means just the value of CNE which does not cover the entire relation. So we can say that from this four calculation, this BC and CD, this can become a candidate key because if we are combining these two attributes together, which is column B and column C as well as column C and column D, any of these two possibilities, then it can become the candidate key. So as this AC and CE do not identify all the attributes of the relation given here, combine three attributes. This two can be a part. But now we're going to combine three attributes. That means A, C. These two attributes cannot identify the entire relation. C, E. These two also cannot find. So we'll merge this together and we'll try that these three attributes can combine together and uniquely identify all the values in the table. To identify the closer set of CAE or ACE. Reply here in the chat box. Okay, Parth and Krish replied ACE. We'll verify that. A, C and E must be a part of the result. So I'm first writing that and then we'll go for the other possibility. So A, C and E, this can be a part of the result. if I'm having these three values, so your BC, but B is missing, so this functional dependency is not used. Again, we are not having D, so it can also be not used. So yes, the correct answer is A, C, and E. If they are combining these three attributes together, then also it will not identify all the columns value. That means it cannot become a candidate key. So this is also not possible. So we can say that this relation R can have just these two candidate keys, BC and CD. Okay. One question here which can possible in your mind, can I combine this ACE with B or D? Okay. Why we have just declared that this two can be a part of the answer? Can I combine this A, C, E, which alone cannot become a candidate key? Can I combine this with two possibility B or D? Okay. So first we are doing it for B, A, C, B. So answer will be A, B, C, E. It is by default A, B, C, E. And if I am having both the value B and C, then I can get the value of D2 from this first condition. Okay. So yes, this can become a candidate key. But what does the candidate key means? The minimal attributes we can use here in the candidate key through which we can identify the unique records. So we want minimal set. मान लो कि अगर हमने ये ए सी ई को बी के साथ या डी के साथ कंबाइन किया तो हमें रिकॉर्ड्स तो यूनिक मिलेंगे ही, बट दिस इज नॉट द मिनिमल बिकॉज ओनली बी and C, these two attribute can able to uniquely identify the record. Only D and C, these two will be able to identify the record. So there is no need to have more attributes together. That's why our answer will only consist two possibility BC and CD, not ACBE or ACDE like that. Everyone is clear? Candidate key itself means the minimum number of column requires to identify each and every column's value. So अकेले अगर C से ही हो जाता तो हम लोग उसको किसी और कॉलम के साथ मर्ज नहीं करते, like the first example. But alone C is not capable to doing this thing. That's why we have merged it with any other attribute, and we have become the combination of two attributes. मान लो कि यहाँ पे दो attribute में से भी कहीं भी कुछ नहीं होता, then we are going for three attributes and more. But here, suppose C, A, and E, these three attributes together can identify the value, then this also can be the part of the answer because we haven't merged C, A, and E. अगर इसमें से कोई एक कॉलम को अगर आप रिमूव कर दो तो ये कैंडिडेट की ना बन पाए, तभी हम इसको बोलेंगे इट इज द मिनिमल सेट. ये बी और सी में से अगर मैं बी को निकाल दूं so ओनली सी कैन नॉट बी द कैंडिडेट की. अगर यहाँ से मैं सी को निकालूं तो ओनली बी कैन नॉट बी अ कैंडिडेट की. सो पूरे ही टेबल की सभी कॉलम को आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए मिनिमम ये दो एट्रीब्यूट चाहिए. यहाँ पर ये मिनिमम दो एट्रीब्यूट चाहिए. अगर मान लो ये तीन एट्रीब्यूट सी, ए और ई तीनों से ही हमें पूरी कॉलम मिल जाती, then it can also be the part of the result. Because अगर इसमें से कोई एक भी एट्रीब्यूट को अगर मैं निकालूं तो वो टेबल की सारी कॉलम्स को यूनिकली आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पाएगा. ओके, सो कैंडिडेट की मींस मिनिमम नंबर ऑफ सेट ऑफ एट्रीब्यूट्स. ओके, एवरीवन इज क्लियर ऑन दैट? I'm waiting for your response. Everyone is clear? Then we'll go ahead. Okay, good. Okay, so we are moving ahead. Today we are going to study one new topic, which is decomposition. We know that what is decomposition. I'm going back. We have studied this in Armstrong's axioms, if you remember. And here we are having decomposition. Decomposition means if I am having the value of A, then I can get the two columns value, which is B and C. So I can divide it, I can break it or decompose it with these two rules. Having the value of A, I can get the value of B, and having the value of A, I can also get the value of C. This is decomposition, and we are going to study that topic in detail. Okay, so decomposition means the process of breaking down the given relation into two or more relations. Previously, what is the condition? If I'm having the value of A, I can get the value of B and C both. If I'm having the value of A, I can get the value of B and I can get the value of C. Okay. This is just the rules or just the functional dependency we have breaking. But in decomposition, you can break down a relation. This relation is having the 5 columns, suppose 5 attributes. So I can break down into two different relations. It can also be the possibility. Suppose from this relation, just a minute. This can be the first relation and this can be the second relation. Like that, I can make two relations out of one, and it is also called decomposition. I am breaking some part from the entire thing. So here, this is the process of breaking down given relation into two or more relations such that each new relation, if I am having the relation R and I am breaking down into suppose two relations, the first one is relation 1 and the second one is relation 2. So each new relation, that means this R1 and R2, contains a subset of the attributes of R. So if in R we are having 5 columns A, B, C, D, E. So in each and every relation R1 and R2, there can be a subset. In R1, suppose it is A, B, C. And in R2, suppose it is C, D, E. Likewise. Okay. So it is a subset. There is no any new column which is previously not available into R, but you are directly see it in the decomposition. It is not possible. For example, like your entire class is this is R, and this is your lab batch A, B, and C. So if you are merging all these three together, lab batch A student, lab batch B student, and C student, then it should be equals to R. In whatever information I am having for your class, like your enrollment number, name, your batch, your mentor name, and your result. So in this lab batch detail, I'm having the same kind of detail. It may possible in lab, I didn't require the lab batch. I didn't require your mentor name. So it can be a subset of the parent relation. So each new relation contains a subset of the attributes of R. All relation must include all tuples and attributes of R. So we need to include all of this. This R should be decomposed. It will be breaking down into this. It will include all the tuples and attributes. It can be possible some of the tuples will be in R1, some of them in R2, or it can be possible for attributes, but at least everything should be included in the newly created relations. So the possible types of decomposition are lossy and lossless. Lossy means if you are creating two different relations from the one relation R, if you are creating R1 and R2, then some of the information you lose. Like it can be your enrollment number, it can be the name of the student or the mentor name, anything, or some particular student's record if you are saying, so anything, but you lost some of the important information. And this is a lossless decomposition. That means no loss in decomposition. So if you are doing in a good way the decomposition, then any important relation related information will not be lost. Okay. So there are two types of decomposition can be possible, lossy and lossless. First, we'll understand what is lossy decomposition. So the decomposition of relation R into R1 and R2 is said to be lossy when we are merging these two, when we are joining R1 and R2 together and still it does not display the same relation in R. If we are having R, if we have divided into two parts, R1 and R2, and after some time, if we are going to merge these two or join these two relation R1 and R2, then it will be not equivalent to R. Then we can say that some of the information we have lost, and that's why it is called lossy decomposition. How it can be possible? We'll see it with example. Major drawback of this decomposition is what we may have data loss. For example, suppose this is our relation I. Okay, and in this relation, we are having three attributes. The first attribute is account number, the second is balance, and third one is branch. And I'm calling this as a relation R. Now from this relation R, I can decompose it with two relations, two new relations, R1, which is this, account number and balance. Okay, so in the previous parent relation, we are having three columns, but here we are just considering two values, two columns, account number and balance. And R2, which is having the balance and branch. Okay. Now, if we are going to merge this together, now if we are performing join, how join can be applicable here? Which is the common column or common attribute available in both the relations R1 and R2? Reply in the chat box quickly. How we can perform the join? R1 dot which attribute equals to R2 dot which attribute? Okay, good. So balance is the common attribute which we are having here. But if you remember, every time, whenever we have done the practical, this is just for an example, it is not the proper example, which you can implement in the lab. Why? Because whenever we are joining, whenever we are matching any of the attribute, it is always a primary key for any of the table. If you remember, we have merged like this, account dot account number equals to transaction dot account number. So here account number is the primary key. Or else loan dot loan number, we are comparing it with transaction dot loan number. So loan number is the primary key for any one of the table. Here for balance, this is not possible, but this is just the kind of an example how you can lose the data if you made some kind of mistake. So here if you merge this two table with performing join, then balance is the common attribute in this two. Balance is common. So first we are doing the Cartesian product and we are only following those records in which the balance is equal. But unfortunately, here the balance in both the records is equal, which is 50,000, 50,000. So what we can do is, first we'll perform the Cartesian product. So this two balance will be matched. Yes, it is matched. So here it is inserted first record like this, 001 account number whose balance is 50,000 and the branch is Rajkot. Okay. Then the second one. Ideally, this should not be matched. If we are taking the comparison of any primary key, then this will not happen. But here we are making a comparison with a non-primary key, and that's why balance, it can be possible like two persons balance will be equal. So this is also matched. So the second row we are getting is 001 account. 001 account, balance 50,000 and branch is Baroda. This is the second row. The third row which can be possible here is 002. It will be matched with this. Again, balance is matched. So 002, 50,000 Rajkot, and the last one is 002, 50,000 Baroda. Ideally, this is not correct. We know that account number 001, this person's branch is Rajkot, and 002, this person's branch should be Baroda from this actual table. But here, when we are having divided it into two different tables, and now we are going to join it, then this kind of table we are having, in which account number 001 in Baroda and 002 in Rajkot, these middle two records are incorrect. So these two are not equal because these two are the extra records, and that's why we are calling it as a lossy decomposition. The actual data which we are having, we lost the actual data and now we are confused like which one is the correct one. Okay. So now we are moving ahead to the next one, which is lossless decomposition. In the decomposition of relation R into R1 and R2, it is said to be lossless when we are joining these two relations together, and it will displace the same relation which we have previously available. All decomposed relation must be this lossless, because only then we are not having any kind of confusion, and even we are not lost with any of the data. So in this example, this can be the relation, account number, balance and branch, the same account table we are taking. The same relation R1 we are taking, which is account number and balance, but we have just modified the relation 2. Previously, in this example, in place of account number, here it is balance. But now we know that join can be only possible with the primary key. So account number is common in two columns and it is a primary key. So with the help of primary key, we can uniquely identify the data. That's why we have made the minor change, and this relation R2 will be of two columns, account number and branch. And now if we are performing the join, then what will happen? This 2 will be verified and the common attribute is account number. So 001, 001, correct. If we are going for this, then account number will not match. So this row cannot be the part of the result. So we are deleting it. Again, we are checking it for 002 with 001. Again, this account number is not verified. That means we are going to delete it. And we are verifying the last one, which is 002 with 002. And it is matched. So only these two records will be the part of the result. Account number 001, balance 50,000 and Rajkot, 002, balance 50,000 and Baroda. So if you observe here, these two tables are now similar because we are not having any extra records available. And that's why we are not getting confused which table is correct and which records are correct, because both the tables, it is similar. So this is called lossless decomposition. Okay. Do anyone have any query in this lossy and lossless decomposition? So if you can write here in the chat box. And if you are not having any query, then write no queries. Okay, good, no queries. So we are moving ahead towards the new topic, which is database anomalies. What do you mean by anomalies? It means that the problems which we are facing, and it may occur in the database if it is designed without proper planning and analysis. Okay. If you didn't know that how to create the table, previously you didn't know that like primary key should be the key in the table, through that we can uniquely identify the records. Or else what can be the happen, like in your class 2 person is having the same name and you haven't know the enrollment number. If you are not having enrollment number and 2 person is having the same name, the entire name, first name and last name, both of them are equal. So how you will differentiate that these 2 persons are different? So for that we require some unique planning. Like we are having a primary key will be always unique. It cannot be null, like that. So anomalies means the problems, and it is occurring in the database because we are not going to plan it properly, how to create a table, how the how many columns we can put in one table. If we are going to decompose the table, then what can be the attributes which we can take here, as we have seen that previously, lossy and lossless decomposition. If you are decompose any of the table in the wrong way, then you are getting the lossy decomposition. That means you can lose your data, which is the correct one. So database anomalies, in which there are mainly three types of anomalies. Okay, what can be the three types? We just think normally in database, which kind of operation you are going to perform. The main operation in database, what you are doing, first you are creating the table, okay, then you are inserting the data. Whenever we are dealing with the data, only then this kind of problem will be happen. Because if I'm just having the scenario like the relation schema for 3PC1 class, I can have this value name, just the first name of the student and the result. I want these two columns only. So it may be possible like two persons' name will be equal. And I'm just getting the first name. So the probability is high. So whenever we are inserting the data, whenever we are deleting any of the data, or we are going to update it, that means database manipulation will be done, only then the problem can occur. Whenever you are defining the structure, it will be fine. But whenever we are inserting the data, deleting the data, or updating it, at that time the problem will rise. So we'll start with the first, insert anomaly. What it will be and what is the example for that. So an insert anomaly occurs when inserting certain attribute value is dependent on the presence of a value in the other attribute. Okay. We'll see in the simpler manner. Suppose this is the table, and the table which we are calling it is called employee table. Okay. How many? Okay, number of degree and cardinality. Right here in the chat box, degree and cardinality for this relation quickly. What do you mean by degree and cardinality? Reply here in the chat box. Degree is 6, path return, and cardinality 2. Okay. What about rest of the student? It is correct or any other answer? Okay. Nancy replied same. Umang also replied 6 and 2. So I think 6 is degree. Krish replied D6, degree 6, and cardinality 2. Perfect. So what is degree? Degree means the number of column which we are having in our relation. So we are having 6 columns: enrollment number, enrollment name, address, D number, which is a department number, department name, and department manager's ID. So we are having 6 columns, which is called 6 attributes, and degree means number of attributes. What is a cardinality? Number of rows, records, or tuple which we are having. Okay. So in this employment table, we know that there are 2 employees, Stuti and Rutvi. Address is Rajkot and Baroda. They are from the same department, which is department number 1, and the department name is sales department. So if they are in the same department, but obvious their manager will be the equal. So the manager's ID will be 1. Okay. Consider the employee relation with employee number as a primary key. We know that because here it is in between this employee number, we are having a solid line which denotes that it is a primary key, and it is referring a D number. Okay, but this we'll see in the later part. But in this table, we are having enrollment number as a primary key. Assumes that now the new department account has been started. We are having just one table for this employee, and previously we are having the sales department. And now in this company or organization, a new department named accounts. Now it is started. But initially, we know that if this account department is not available previously, so there is no any employee available in the department. Okay. So if account department started, so we have just created this department number, and the department number will be 5. Department name will be accounts, and any one of the department manager, suppose the manager ID will be 2. But right now, just the department has started. We haven't recruited any of the employees. So in the employee number, in the employee name, and in the place of address, we are having the null values. So a user wish to enter the details in employee relation with no employee details. Hence, the value of enrollment, enrollment number, name, and address will be null. As employee number is a primary key, this is a primary key, so it will not allow to enter null values here. Okay, so ideally null value is not allowed in a primary key. We know that if it is a unique key, then it will allow the null values, but not allow the duplicate values. But in primary key, it doesn't allow the null as well as do not allow the duplicate, both the values. So this employee number is a primary key and it will not allow to enter the null value. Ultimately, a user will not be able to insert a new record for only department details. Suppose for an organization, we are suppose thinking that previously they have made an improper planning and they have just maintained a single table in which they are storing which employee is working under which department, what is the department number, and who is the manager for that department, like that. There is a single table. Previously, we are having sales department, so they are having perfect detail for that. But if now they have created new table account, new department accounts, so in accounts, they haven't recruited any of the employee. And that's why in employee number, employee name and address, they are not having any of the detail. So we are thinking that it is null for right now. We are just creating the department here. So department number is available with us. Department name is available, and who will become the manager of that department, it is also with us. But we cannot insert these values into the table because employee number is the primary key for the table and we are not allowed to give the null values here. So, and insert this kind of the problem which we are facing here in this relation where some tuples cannot be inserted, okay, due to some of the reasons, and it is known as insert anomaly. The problem occur while we are inserting the records. And insert anomaly occurs when certain attributes cannot be inserted into the database without the presence of the another attribute. Like we are not able to insert the department number, name, and manager ID until we are not recruited any of the employee under this department. So these 3 attributes which we have entered, 5 accounts and 2, we are not capable to insert it until we are not having any of the employees. So they are dependent on that, and this is called insert anomaly. Okay, everyone is clear? Can we move ahead? Okay, good. Okay, so the next one is delete anomaly. Delete anomaly occurs when deleting certain attributes values may result in loss of other attribute value. Okay, we'll take one example and it will be better. Previously, we have taken that account department. Now we have recruited one person called Akash. So in this organization's details will be like this: employee number 1, Stuti in Rajkot in sales department, 2, Rutvi in Baroda sales department, and in account department, which we have just started, we have recruited one person named Akash who is living in Surat. This department number is 5 and the manager of Akash will be the person who is having the ID 2. Like that. Manager's ID will be 2. Okay. Assumes that there is only one employee who works in the account department. Okay. And suppose now Akash got some other opportunity and he resigned this organization. So he is going out from this organization. So we need to delete the record of this. So if we are deleting a row which is having the employee number 3, if we are deleting this, then along with the detail of the Akash and the Akash address, we also lost the department account, because in account department we are having just one person, and if that one person is leaving the organization, then that means now in our table there is no any department called account, there is no any department number for accounts department, and no any manager is already assigned. So it means that if we delete the person who is leaving the organization, the department is also closed. But ideally, this is not the possibility. It may be possible, ideally, if Akash left the organization, after some time, some new person will join the account department and the person's details here as an employee will be inserted. But it is called a problem while we are deleting some attribute, while you are deleting certain attribute like this. Akash's detail, it may result to loss of other attributes. That means the entire department itself. So deleting the above row, that means the third row, Akash has left the institute, will also result in no records for department details in the table, although we are having the department details in the table, the department table. Right now we are just thinking that we are having a single table. We are not having two separate tables. So right now in our organization's table, we are not having any of the department called accounts. Ideally, it is already available there, but in our table, it is not showing that. So information regarding the department accounts is also deleted. So this kind of problem in this relation, where deletion of some tuples can lead to the loss of some other tuples or the data which is not intended to be removed. It is known as delete anomaly. Okay, and now we are going towards the last anomaly, which is called update anomaly. Ultimately, there are some chances of data loss in case of dependency. Here we have lost the details regarding the account department because we are having just a single table, and that's why this all kind of issues will occur. Update anomaly occurs when updating any records do not reflect changes to all the relevant records. Okay, we'll see here. Suppose here Stuti and Rutvik, these two employees working in the same department, sales department. Their manager is also equal 1-1. Suppose manager now change, like from this 1, it will be changed to 3 or 5, anything. So the manager is changed and it will be reflected in any one of them, but not in all the sales departments. So ideally, for one department, there is a one manager, but Stuti and Rutvi works in the same department, and due to some update related issue, they are not having the same manager. Assumes that the manager of the sales department is changed. Hence, we need to update this manager's ID of all the employees who is working in the sales department. Here in our example, there are two persons, Stuti and Rutvi. If we fail to update all the corresponding records, that means if the department's manager ID for all the records who is belonging to the sales department is not updated, then it is possible that different employees may have different manager, even if they are working in the same department. So this is called update anomaly. Okay, so here update anomaly exists when we are having one or more records or the instance of duplicated data is updated, but not all of them is updated. Okay, so we have just updated either it with the Stuti's DMGR ID or we have updated with Rutvi's manager ID, but at all places it is not completed, and that's why Stuti and Rutvi working in the same department, then also their manager is the different one. Everyone is clear till this? Quickly. Okay. Okay, so today we have covered how to find the candidate key examples, then decomposition. We are having two types, lossy and lossless, and then we have started with database anomalies in which insert, delete, and update. We have completed till this. In the next lecture, we'll start with normalization, the most important topic for database subject. Okay, so now I'm taking your attendance. Wait a minute.